The chaos in the palace continues as we are on the search for who it is that is out here targeting Lishu, I guess, and also I think that's it. Just people acting behind the scenes, I guess, is realistically all that we're looking out for. I have zero guesses or suspicions as to who or what or why or anything, and I guess we're just going to kind of see what happens. Typically, in those situations, you try and make it like somebody that you've been introduced to like make it a bit more like obvious or shocking, like when it actually gets revealed, like it's this person. But for whatever reason, we've been introduced to such like a small amount of characters. It doesn't, I don't know. To me, it doesn't feel like that's the case. The only thing I can possibly think of is the older girl, the one they said that had beef with her. All I can think about is she like hired somebody or she like put a hit on her or something, like she wants her gone for whatever the reason is. Because they said that they got like some issues together for whatever the reason may be. So I'd assume maybe something like that, but I got no idea outside of that. Very excited to see what happens. If you like it all, like and subscribe to me. Lots of me. Feel free to stick around for the discussion. Let me comments for this episode or series. This is a Toho show. It's gonna get blocked at some point. They've been on it pretty quick, honestly, recently. So check the link in the description or comments if you still want to watch this. Probably about a week or so later. Let's get going though with episode 7. Oh. The unsolved mystery of poison remains unsolved for the most part. And we just kind of progress through the motions naturally of that while we are trying to figure out clues and things that can kind of lead us into figuring out exactly what's going on there. Mamo has some other motivations and things that she wants to do, especially like going home, now figuring out other things that she is allowed to do by leaving due to the hairpins and everything that she received. And it kind of makes up the entirety of the episode. We don't take a too serious approach, I would say, on like a lot of different issues, and we play into it pretty funny with a lot of the stuff regarding Mao Mao and her antics that she gets up to with trying to, I guess, manipulate in a way or persuade Buddy to be able to let her go and be able to get back home so that she can visit everybody again. And for the most part, I mean, that's where we really get going. I think it's pretty fun for the most part where we're at. I guess thoughts that I have would just be around the idea that we haven't been introduced necessarily to the person with the poison, like the person who is having it out for us. We're leading very heavily, it seems like, into the idea that even though the poison tester herself didn't seem to be under the impression that they would end up killing her, or that it was actual poison or whatever, and that they were just trying to mess around with her and bully her in this sort of way, there might be somebody within that household there who does really have it out for her and really wants her dead at this point, right? And is trying their absolute hardest to do it. It definitely seems like there is a strong possibility that that is the route that they are trying to at least make you lean into. I'm still, for whatever reason, just going to be under the impression that the other girl that they kind of mentioned that they kind of had some beef before is the one trying to go out for her and is trying to do away with her for whatever the reason might be, and that's really kind of all I'm at right now. I don't have another guess or assumption as to where we could lead more into with that and who could possibly be behind all of this. Just as it seems like for the most part nobody else involved either really seems to have a general clue exactly to the direction that we could go. We spend a lot of the episode 2 kind of just reinforcing the things that were already, I thought, pretty much confirmed at the end of the last episode with the bullying and the way that they were doing it, but I guess just putting it into words a bit more here for you in case if you missed on those things, or just as more confirmation in a way is a good thing. And they do a lot of focus on stuff along those lines. I think the whole moment when we end up getting Mao Mao to kind of bribe Buddy and be able to be like, oh, I got this connection or I can get you in here, is really, really fun. And it works really well, and especially because she can read into people very easily and know exactly what they would all want, especially because it seems like this household is unlike all the others within that pleasure district and it has some very elite talent. I guess you could say that people definitely want to be able to visit at least probably once in their lifetime, which props to her for doing what she can and using, you know, all the tricks that she has in her hands here and be able to play into that extremely well. And then being able to get our home visit, I think, is great too. I love how we just didn't skip a beat either. How the grandpa was just like looking at her and he was like, "Oh, welcome back. You're a little late," but just nobody, or even the old lady, didn't have any like thoughts about, you know, her being gone forever. I mean, she did complain that she was gone for like 10 months, but like nothing too crazy, which I think is like no shock or surprise that she actually came back. It was like they expected it the entire time, which I think is great. They leave us as well with an end line about like fate or destiny or something, which is weird. It would start connecting lines a lot more behind the idea of, I guess, mm, uh, I don't know. Mao Mao's connection though to the Rare Palace and kind of how what her position probably is or was, or her connection, I guess, just in general of what it is. I'm interested in. We don't have a lot or really anything, it feels like, to go off of that. I would have to rewatch the early episodes, probably like episode one, and see if there's anything like hinted or referenced at that point that could lead to the idea that possibly she has some sort of connection to be there. And I don't, or that she like is from there, like born there possibly, and then moved off for whatever the reasons might be, or possibly just in relation. Maybe she wasn't born there, but was born to somebody who has a relation or has some sort of thing where he was a part of this before. I don't know the full connection. I guess that would be displayed there, but I definitely think that we are following a path where Memo has some sort of connection to this. So it wound up is like something like a full circle here, where she ended up getting back to, I guess, the roots or the things that possibly they were trying to pull her away from, or possibly where she all started, right? And I don't know the exact thing, but there it seems like we're hinting towards that a lot more. We got into Jinshi as well, not much, but just like him showing another side of himself a little bit, and kind of understanding about like his position, where we don't really get much of a hint towards it. I thought about it more, especially after editing last week, when they reference it, and they make reference to the, I think, like missing brother or something of the emperor, and then also when they showcase the emperor's mom looks very similar to Jinshi, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if Jinchi is just the brother of the emperor. I think that would make a ton of sense, and for whatever reason, that is something that is being hidden amongst everybody, and then they're just kind of making him seem like he has some sort of position that's of higher standing, but nothing too crazy, right? And it's a way of probably protection so that they don't have to go out of the way and really, protect him overly, and can allow him to be a bit more free, but also because he wasn't the older brother, I guess at the time he no longer has, he doesn't have the same abilities or powers as the emperor himself would here, so his role isn't as important or isn't as necessary to be openly displayed. There might be other reasons, political things or whatever else kind of behind it, but I'm really leaning into that idea now. It's very obvious he's very high in standings for whatever it is, and who his connection is with or what it is exactly is remains to be unseen. But my current idea, I guess, would just be that that's probably his brother. And if not, it's like he's like a cousin or something, but he has a very close relation, I would assume, to the emperor, at this point, which is kind of where I'm going to continue going off of. Just a couple few things, I guess, just to point out I liked about the episode. We take a very comedic approach, I would say, for a lot of it. While there are serious moments, sure, it's very lighthearted for the most part. I love her having like this huge bed that she's able to wake up in because of the way that they were treating her and stuff, I'd assume. I'm assuming this isn't like natural for her. It's just because of the way that she was being treated, due to what happened before, and the day before with the poison and everything. I love the moment here where we start figuring out the fingerprints and all that, and then we connect the dots, a lot of other things that have happened in the previous episode, which I really like. I also like him calling us out, not letting it go unnoticed, making sure that he lets her know, like, I noticed that you were covering for this person and why exactly that whole situation is, which I think is very necessary, of a thing to happen. And it's very welcomed that we have people who actually can call out our main character and aren't oblivious to absolutely everything that's happening, which I think is great. But he lets it pass because at the end of the day, it's not something that's overly, I guess, a big deal, or it could be. It definitely could still be. It just depends on who the person behind all of this is and who's trying to poison who, right? But once we actually figure all that out, we might, turn out that it actually isn't that big a deal. The whole Jinchi moment that I just talked about for the most part, how it works with the hairpins and everything. I love, like I always say every single time when these two together, it's always fun moments, which I really like. We figure out the idea that because of the hairpin that she is given, she is able to basically, I guess, leave the palace, for a period of time, which, so I'm assuming there's multiple meanings that they stated about the hairpins and what exactly they mean. I'm assuming one of them gives her permission to do this. Somebody can take her out, and do that in a way. But then the other one, which is what all the girls kind of lean into later when she ends up bringing up the idea that she is going to be leaving at some point, and then they all start trying to like kind of tease her for it, and she doesn't seem to understand. Seems to be under the impression that that is like a confession or a claim or proposal or like some sort of thing, is kind of what that means. Whereas the other, like, there could could be multiple other meanings for it, or it could just be all in one. But then in this situation, the guy that we're going to be going with doesn't want to view it as that way, and neither does Mao Mao because she isn't aware of it at all, it seems. So we're using this to our benefit for the most part without really worrying about the actual implications and meanings of really everything, I'd assume, for the most part. We end up calling Buddy out here. He says also he has to give them to girls out of obligation, but he doesn't accept any of them, and then he rejects all of them. Is that like just some sort of fucking weird thing that he does and it makes him feel good, but he didn't seem like he feels good about it? Like, it just seems like he doesn't want to be bothered. So why exactly do they make him do it? I don't know. Is it to keep the girls' spirits up, like make them feel like they're still like loved or wanted or something? So he just kind of has to do that. I don't know exactly what his reason for that would be. But then he also, like I said, says that he wants to fucking say that he rejects all of them at the end of the day, which is just weird. Mao gives the proposal of a lifetime for him here, and of course he can't end up turning that down. I love her smile afterwards when she ends up proposing it to him, and then absolutely nothing that he can do to turn that down. And then I love also here how everybody how she immediately jumps on the idea that she can start teasing Jinji. What ended up happening here, and be curious of how he's gonna look or react to it. And of course, Woody is heartbroken when this moment ends up happening. We end up meeting back up with the old lady here, and she is not very happy, beating the shit out of Mao, which is great. And we send Buddy off into his journey, and hopefully he has a great time there. We end up going back and visiting the old man. It's just so funny to me how he didn't even bring up that she was gone. It's like, oh, you're a little late. It's so good. And then we have our, I guess, time lapse in a way of him just kind of being explained exactly everything that she went on, and her telling her journey and her stories, which I think is great. And then him leaving us with our very suspect line at the end. What his connection is to the higher royalty, I guess, in a way. What exactly that is, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have any. Also, what is his, because she just keeps calling him like old man or whatever. Is my idea was that he's like a grandpa or something, but is like he actually related to Mao Mao, or are they just kind of like he just take her in? Like, was she just like orphaned or like sold off or like something? Or like I don't remember if this was ever touched on before, and I just can't remember it, or if it wasn't. And if that stuff's going to be touched on later, don't spoil things. But of course, do let me know. I would be interested to see the relation. Is she just like kind of familiar with them because they are ones who kind of raised her at the end of the day, but they have no actual like real connection or blood relation to them, or what exactly is their involvement there? Another fun one as always, but they just kind of start trickling in little bits of things for us to see here without really giving us a ton, I guess, going forward, leaving you more speculating and excited for what is to come. It's gonna be all for me. If you liked it all, to like and subscribe to me a lot to me. Feel free to check out the video on the channel. Let me comments for this episode of series. I'll be back for the 8th episode next week. Guys, have a good one. Peace.